Risk, change. In today's world, they're a way of life. Faced with overwhelming change, we may feel powerless, but to believe that is a mistake. Each of us possesses an unlimited power that we can use to craft our lives and our organizations. That power is our imagination, our creativity. Hello, I'm Roger Firestien. I teach at the Center for Studies in Creativity at Buffalo State College in Buffalo, New York. Faculty at the center have spent more than 25 years developing, testing, and validating creative problem-solving methods in business, education, government, and healthcare. We're about to explore why creativity is essential, not just for survival or growth, but to sharpen your competitive edge. I'll show you how to become deliberately creative each day, how to make teamwork more effective, and how to evaluate the ideas of others in a systematic and constructive new way. And we'll meet people who depend on creative problem solving to increase quality, empower employees, institute continuous improvement, and create world-class organizations. This is part of what is left of the Bethlehem steel plant in Lackawanna, New York. At its peak in 1957, it employed more than 21,000 people and produced 5.7 million tons of steel. Today, the numbers are a little different. Now, between the railroad, the coke works, and the galvanizing line, it employs less than 750 people and does not produce any steel. What happened here? The answer is beyond the scope of this program. The world still needs steel. Last year, America alone imported more than 1.25 million net tons of steel. Was it a failure of the creative process that allowed this huge enterprise to die? By systematically applying their creative energies, couldn't the thousands of people who worked here have saved this plant? This decaying compound gives mute testimony. It is crucial to foster the creative process in the workplace at every opportunity. And not just in manufacturing, in healthcare, in the service industries, anywhere that people depend on one another to get a job done and protect their future. So what can company presidents, managers, supervisors, workers, and union leaders do to prevent desolation like this? Today, we'll learn powerful new ways to put the creative process to work in your organization. And we'll hear from actual leaders who are benefiting today by applying these principles.
Program such as that, we were very concerned in terms of return on investment. So after the training was done, we set out to find out, well, what did it do? We found that people came up to speed, up to productivity levels and quality levels faster, not by minutes, but by days, which was impressive. And when you look at an organization such as Mazda, they value improvement of minutes and seconds. When you start improving in terms of days, that's very significant.
What we were saying is, out of every 100 parts that we were sending to Saturn Gear, they would send back 17 to us as rejects. For the past 3 months, we sent over 859,000 pieces and received back 6. So that's hypothetical zero defect.
We have decreased our accounts receivables by $3 million a month by sitting the person in the hall. And it cost me nothing to sit the person in the hall except getting her a telephone and a table and putting 2 computers out there.
Cézanne, Renoir, Gauguin, Van Gogh. Unfortunately, most of us don't think of ourselves as creative. Most of us believe that only artists, composers, and inventors can be creative. That's just not true. Our research has shown that we are all creative, and we all express our creativity in different and valuable ways. Now, one of the most valuable places we can express our creativity is where we spend most of our waking hours and where we make our living, at work. But unfortunately, most of us haven't been asked or allowed to be creative at work. In fact, statistical analysis of work systems and management practices conducted by the quality expert W. Edwards Deming has found that limiting the creative energies of workers rather than encouraging them has done untold damage to business. But if everyone was going around being creative all the time, wouldn't it be anarchy and chaos? No. With the changes that have taken place in the global economy over the last few years, our work requires, even demands, that the total creative energies of our entire workforce must be harnessed just to compete. So let's take a look at how it can be done.
With our group specifically, that the energy increases and that people get more charged and are willing to give more results and more answers and more solutions, options to the problem.
There is nothing mysterious about the creative process. Your creative process is as natural as the one that created this forest. Nature's process has two basic operating principles, diverging and converging. When nature diverges, it branches. It radiates, generating thousands of different combinations of plant and animal life. Then, through the process of natural selection, it converges, choosing for survival the most adaptable species. To create, nature also needs the proper environment. It needs just the right mixture of nutrients and energy. To be more creative, we can take a lesson from nature. When working to solve a problem or capitalize on an opportunity, first diverge, stretch your thinking, and generate many ideas. Then converge and select the best ideas to refine and put into action. Like nature, we also need an environment that will nurture our creativity so that we can grow our organizations as beautifully as this magnificent forest. So how do we grow and renew our organizations? Here are some suggestions from Ken Kamiga, former Director of Training and Development for Mazda Motor Manufacturing USA, now President of World Class Business.
You know, I find that when we hire people, we tend to, their first question is, what would you like me to do? So obviously we set out to tell them what they should do. They also ask, well, how do I do it? And we very quickly tell them how to do it. Next question is, well, what are my tools and systems, or what's going to help me do that? So very quickly we give them all those things. And we find that we create a static situation where the person now only can and only looks to doing what they've just learned and just repeating that process and not changing it. And that, I found, is the nature of work. What we don't do with new employees is say, this is the initial way to do the job. And then through these other creative skills that we'll be teaching them to change that, to advance it, to improve it, to come up with a totally different way. And when you look at organizations that compete very well, and if you talk with their people, they do that very effectively. They always look at finding a new way of doing the old thing, continuously, regardless of the type of job, whether it's an executive job or any other level job throughout the organization.
Inexpensive two-seater sports cars, the Pontiac Fiero and the Mazda Miata. Both cars sold for about the same price and targeted the same market. The Fiero was launched in 1983, sold about 300,000 cars, and only 5 years later, after a recall of the 1984 models for engine fire hazards, skyrocketing insurance rates, overrated performance which resulted in plummeting market share, was discontinued. Mazda introduced its Miata in 1989 and less than 4 years later had sold over 260,000 cars. Why was the Miata celebrated as a breakthrough in the automotive industry and the Fiero a flop? Was it Mazda's passion for extensive customer input? Was it better engineering? Was it Mazda's ability to produce and market smaller volume niche vehicles and General Motors' overcommitment to mass production? No, the answer is somewhere else. Now, I'm not pointing to General Motors as the failure or Mazda as the ideal. That's not the lesson. The lesson is, in this highly competitive global economy, our ability to make a living is directly connected to our ability to solve problems. If General Motors or Austin Healey or MG or Fiat, for that matter, had systematically applied the creative abilities of their workforce, they would have had at least 20 years of continuous improvement advantage over the Miata. That didn't happen. And as a result, it will take years for these companies to catch up. And the people in these organizations have suffered the devastating consequences. But what's even more devastating are the results of a study that was conducted only a few years ago on the average number of suggestions for improvements submitted annually by Japanese employees compared to the average number of suggestions for improvements submitted annually by American employees. On the average, Japanese workers submit 32.4 ideas per year with an implementation rate of 87%. Contrasted to American employees who submit an average of 0.17 ideas per worker per year with an implementation rate of 32%. So what are the blocks to creativity in organizations? One of the blocks to creativity is how we treat new ideas and how we fail to develop or refine them. Here's an example that I use in my classes of our natural reaction to new ideas and a simple solution that can make a big difference. This word is comments. Comments. When you teach at a place like the Center for Studies in Creativity on a university campus, sometimes people come to you with new ideas. I have a new idea I'd like to show you and get your comments on that idea. This is a design for a new jet. The wings are swept forward. It's got a long instrument tube out in the front. There's a propeller and a jet engine in the back. What are your comments on that design? Comments. What have we got?
Seems like it would be hard to land.
Is that one of those vertical takeoff and landing planes?
I don't see any landing gear.
Okay, good. Other comments?
And I think the engine's at the wrong end of the plane.
Okay.
Looks like the wings are backwards.
What's wrong with the jets of today? Is there a need for this new design?
Uh-huh. Good.
Doesn't
Other
look
comments?
like it would fit a lot of people.
Okay, good. Other comments?
The jets might burn the prop.
Uh-huh. Other comments? I asked you for comments. What did I get?
Criticisms.
You got 17 criticisms, 4 questions, and 2 strengths. By the way, this plane really does work. It really does fly. It's the Learfan 2100 prototype executive aircraft. Constructed of advanced composite materials that are stronger than aluminum but weigh half as much, the Learfan led the way for innovative design and construction of corporate aircraft. This plane first flew in January of 1981. Unfortunately, because of management problems at Learfan, it never made it to commercial production. This plane, the Beech Starship, went into production in 1989. An all-composite turboprop, it was the first of its kind ever certified. Thanks to advanced design, the Starship can reach 385 miles per hour. Yet it uses 1/3 less fuel than a business jet and can easily use short runways. Now, this is not a lesson in airplane design, but it is a lesson in how we treat new ideas. Did you notice that when I asked you to do something neutral like comment on this design, clearly most of the comments that we got were criticisms? Now, I think there's a more important process going on here than just an unusual looking airplane that, granted, I didn't give you a lot of information on. What would have happened if I would have taken your comments and modified my airplane design according to your comments? What would I have?
Same thing.
Right, the same old traditional airplane. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what new ideas look like sometimes. They look a little weird, they look a little strange, they look a little odd. Sometimes we don't have all the information about the idea. And the knee-jerk reaction to innovation is, kill it. So how do we deal with this negative reaction to new ideas? There is another way to evaluate ideas. Affirmative judgment is a way of crafting and building an idea, like a master cabinet maker creates fine furniture. One method that uses affirmative judgment is called advantages, limitations, and unique qualities, ALU for short. When you evaluate an idea using an ALU, hold back your first reaction to destroy the idea. Instead, look it over and list at least 3 things that are good about it. These are the advantages. Sometimes you find rough spots in the wood, so you polish them out. Ideas have rough spots too, called limitations. When you list an idea's limitations, express them as problem statements. Don't say it will cost too much. Ask how to reduce the cost, or how might we find the money to develop this. Stating limitations this way helps you view them as problems. problems your mind can immediately go to work to solve. Finally, speculate. Dream a little. What does this idea have that no other idea has? What might happen if it were implemented? In other words, what are its unique qualities? Once you've determined an idea's advantages, limitations, and unique qualities, then go back and generate ideas to overcome the limitations, strengthen the idea, and polish it for action. Let's rejoin our team and watch them as they use the advantages, limitations, and unique qualities approach to evaluate the Lear fan. Okay, let's go back to our design and practice the ALU method. What are the advantages of the Lear fan?
Looks lighter.
Okay, great.
Takeoff is easier.
Okay.
On takeoffs, Roger, I think that we'll have shorter takeoffs and landings.
Okay, thanks. Other advantages?
Looks like it has more headroom.
Okay, great.
And I think it's more aerodynamic.
Okay, good. Now, what are the limitations that you see in this design? But when you give me your limitations, phrase them in the form of a problem statement, beginning with the words how to or how might we.
How to train pilots in flying this new design.
Okay. Great, thanks.
How might we reduce the cost in
Okay.
production?
How to get parts.
Okay.
How might we shorten the instrument tube?
Okay.
How to ensure the innovation will go forward to the 21st century.
Okay.
How might we make sure that it's fuel efficient since it's got 2 engines?
Okay.
How might we even out the spaces between the windows?
Okay.
How to make it larger.
Now let's speculate a little bit. What are the unique qualities about this idea? What does this idea have that no other idea has? What might be the result if we were to implement this idea? What have you got?
It might be more affordable to maintain.
Okay, great.
It might fly faster.
All right, good. Other unique qualities of this idea?
It might be commercially useful.
Great, okay.
It might cost less to produce.
Okay, thanks.
It might be instantly recognizable.
You identified the limitation, how to gain public acceptance of the Lear fan, as your most important limitation. Now, what are all the ideas you can possibly imagine to overcome the limitation of how to gain public acceptance of the Lear fan? What have you got?
Free tickets to fly it.
Okay. Other ideas to how to gain...
Tie benefits and use the public.
Okay. Other ideas on how to gain public acceptance
Free
of the Lear
rides
fan?
to test it.
Great, great, good.
Offer public tours.
Okay, great, thank you.
Set some sort of new safety record and then publicize that fact.
Great. Great.
Use
good.
it in a Coca-Cola commercial.
Okay, great.
Use it in a movie.
Great. So does evaluating ideas in an affirmative way, using the advantages, limitations, and unique qualities technique make a difference? Let's listen to Scott Phillips of Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation's Gas Marketing Division.
Evaluation has to be a positive process. In terms of the advantages, limitations, opportunities, people tend to think of how they could turn it just a little bit or change it just a little bit to make it that much better. And in making it that much better, it's obviously more useful.
One of the things that we've done, like I said, was teach the creative problem-solving model. And we do it strictly to get them to get ingrained in them, to make it automatic that they're going to be questioning everything that happens and not afraid to express their ideas.